Welcome to the fourth episode of The Extra Ship. Today we look at capital projects. You've heard the stories in the news about 1%, 2%, 9% of capital projects being released by the government. The federal government has not been able to fund capital projects as they should. But what happens to the recurrent side of things? Salaries have been paid, overhead costs have been paid. Why is this even so? Let's dial back a little bit. The federal government told us in 2025 that it was moving 70% of the capital project in 2025 to the 2026 project. But why was recurring costs not moved into the 2026 proposed budget? Reality is that when I teach a public finance class, I always ask them this question: who gets paid first in the Nigerian public finance chain? Is it the Eurobond creditor? Is it the National Assembly lawmaker? Is it the salaries of the lecturer? Is it the contractor payments for the person who build the road in your neighborhood, or the fuel cost for a police officer? And a lot of people mix it up. But let me also onboard it step by step. In Nigeria's public finance chain, it is the Eurobond creditor that gets paid first. Because if you stop paying debt obligations, you don't just default, you damage the credibility of the entire system. You now have the lawmakers then paid next. Now, the lawmakers are what you call statutory transfers, and there are different agencies that get their first line charge. Imagine that you have money in your bank account and you have made some subscriptions to rent or to magazines. Those monies get charged first. Those are what you call statutory transfers. Those payments are made to just protect their integrity or to just keep them in the payment. Next, you have salaries for lecturers, personnel costs, and you have your overhead costs like the fuel cost for your police officer. So who gets paid last is the contractor for your capital project. So sometimes when revenue is very, very tight, when you now put the order of priority, you have paid the first guy, the creditor. You've paid the lawmaker. You've paid the salaries for the lecturers. You've also paid the overhead costs to the police station. What gets paid last is the contractor. And that's why we have questions to ask. Because if you refuse to pay debt, it would create a systemic crisis. If you refuse to pay salary, it would create an immediate crisis. If you refuse to pay capital projects, you might not see the crisis in the immediate. It gets prolonged over time. And that's why you see capital projects being delayed, abandoned in the country. And another thing is about capital payment is not like a bank transfer. There's a long chain involved. For example, there is a procurement system that begins. And that is even when you begin to understand the balance in the capital projects in Nigeria. When you hear things like funds utilized, funds cash back and funds released. In the capital project, you first have funds released, which means go and start procurement. Go and begin the authority to incur expenditure on behalf of the federal government. Funds have been released. Next thing you hear that funds has been cash backed. This means the money is now in the CBN. We are now ready to release money to the contractor. Then you hear funds have now been utilized, which means funds have now been paid to maybe a third party to execute project for the federal government or for a state government. Invariably, it means if you hear that 50 billion has been released for XYZ ministry, it does not mean the money is in the account. It's a paper release. It means until you hear that funds have been utilized, that is when the ministry have actually expended the money to the benefit of the citizens or maybe even to their own benefits. Another problem we have is that the ministry trying to do too much at once. So if, for example, I'm a minister and I hear that 100 billion has been released, instead of me to start 2-3 projects, I won't start 3, I start 10 projects. Or even start all my projects. And if I start 10 projects, it means I can give 10 billion naira to 10 people instead of me giving 25 billion naira to 4 people. And what happens in that scenario? 10 projects are running at once, 10% each. Next time they get another 10%. Another 3 years they get another 10%. So you variably 30% release for a project in over a 3-year period. What happens? The contractor now says, Oga, cement has gone up, dollar has gone up, iron rod has gone up, so I need variation. So suddenly, a project of 10 billion naira suddenly becomes what? 50 billion naira because of constant variation. In fact, the road between Ibadan, Bomosho, and Ilorin has started since the year 2000. Now imagine the number of variation that project has gone through to arrive at the current stage that we have. And that is the danger of running too many capital projects, fragmenting capital projects, and getting ministries not being able to prioritize what matters more to the people. So projects do not get priority not because they are urgent. They also get priority because they are politically sensitive. So for example, a constituency project or when a project is tied to a political operative, that kind of project gets funded first. The procurement program will start immediately. funds will be released for it. So you have other projects that are within the ministry, but they do not get priority because, they are like orphaned projects. Nobody's speaking up for them. And they know the citizens are not asking enough questions that why is this not done? Why is that not done? The reality is that a chunk of capital projects in Nigeria are funded by debt. And a lot of them also are not properly aligned with the development objectives of the government or for the society as well. The reality is, so capital projects are also very, very slow, as we have said to you. It's not like salaries that you're just transferring or debt payment that you're just making transfers. It has to go through that long, painful process. That's why it is your important focus that capital projects must be properly funded and must be properly delivered. And so we must normalize delivery of capital projects so that we don't end up with half-built schools, abandoned hospitals, unfinished roads. That projects will not just exist on paper. That we must also ask ourselves, what is in budget for us? Most of the times, what is in the budget for you is the delivery of the capital project. And unfortunately, with this very long winding process, it's what gets the last priority. And sometimes it's not even the kind of capital projects that gets priority is for you. Some capital projects like somebody's buying desk, buying laptop, buying cars. Those things are also called capital projects, or they are called administrative capital projects. They are not developmental capital projects. And at the end of the day, the country has what you call a poor infrastructural stock. And you're asking, why are we undeveloped? Or why are we backward? Why is this road not fully completed? It's because you are not asking questions. Because on the list of everything, your priority is last. Ask questions. Shame.